Jamuna tiravan chari jaya Abhacharnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Vrinda Devi Tulasi Maharani ki Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauranga Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So today we are reading from Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chapter 30, which is entitled The Activities of the Prachetas, and today we shall recite text 14. Please repeat after me. Shud Shamaya Mukhe Raja Somaha Piyusha Varshinim Deshinim Rodamanaya Nidhade Sa Dayan Vitaha Shudshamaya Mukhe Raja Soma Piyusha Varshinim Deshinim Rodamanaya Nidadhe Sadayan Vitaha. Some of us are chanting before, maybe we chant all together rhythmically, it's nice. Shut Shamaya Mukhe Raja Soma Piyusha Varshinim Deshinim Rodamanaya Nidadhe Sadayan Vitaha. Please recite.
Shamaya Mukhe Raja Soma Piyusha Varshinim Deshinim Rodamanaya Nidade Sadayam Vita.
Shamaya Mukhe Raja Soma Piyusha Varshinim Deshinim Rodamanaya Nidade Sadayan Vitaha.
Shamaya Mukhe Raja Soma Piyusha Varshinim Deshinim Rodamanaya Nidadhe Nidadhe Sadayanvitaha
Nidadhe Sadayanvitaha
Kshamaya Mukhe Raja
Kshamaya Mukhe Raja
Somah Piyusha Varshinim
Somah Piyusha Varshinim
Deshinim Rodamanayam
Deshinim Rodamanaya
Nidadhe Sadaivanvita
Nidadhe Sadayanvita.
Thank you very much. So the word by word translation. Shud, by hunger.
By hunger.
Shamaya,
Shamaya,
when she was distressed.
when she was distressed.
Mukhe,
Mukhe,
within the mouth.
with the mouth.
Raja,
Raja,
the king.
the king.
Somaha,
Soma,
the moon.
the moon.
Piyusha,
Piyusha,
nectar.
nectar.
Varshinim,
Varshinim,
pouring. Deshinim,
Deshinim,
forefinger.
forefinger.
Rodamanaya,
Rodamanaya,
while she was crying.
while she was crying.
Nidadhe,
Nidadhe,
placed.
place.
Saha,
Saha,
he.
he.
Daya anvitaha,
Dayanvitaha,
being compassionate.
being compassionate.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. So the translation reads as follows. Thereafter the child, who was left to the care of the trees, began to cry in hunger. At that time, the king of the forest, namely the king of the moon planet, out of compassion, placed his finger, which poured forth nectar within the child's mouth. Thus the child was raised by the mercy of the king of the moon. And there's a very short purport. Although the Apsara left her child to the care of the trees could not take care of the child properly. Therefore, the trees handed the child over to the king of the moon. Thus, Chandra, king of the moon, put his finger within the mouth of the child to satisfy her hunger. Srila Prabhupada ki. What's with the translation for Albina Mataji? She needs translation? Okay, alright. So please let us recite the Mangalacharna together. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktyavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvishe Namaha Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyam Jagannathaya Te Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lankayate Girim Yat Padamaham Bande Guru Dinutaram Madham Shri Chaitanya Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Before we delve into today's verse further, I would like to humbly seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas and senior devotees so that I may be able to perform this devotional service primarily for my own purification. So, just I thought I'll give a brief to Adrian, because he must be thinking why we chant so much already, because you must be in our Bhagavatam class every morning and we chant so many prayers, and then you must be thinking, what is this? So basically, I don't know if you already know about it. Do you know about it already, what we do, like these prayers? It's like an invocation.
More or less, yes.
Okay, very nice. So it's like an invocation. Before we go into Srimad Bhagavatam, we seek the blessings. And why do we seek the blessings and why do we pray? Because we believe that we have a disciplic succession, that our approach is that to remain really humble at heart and remain humble at our practice of devotional service. We always believe that we can reach Krishna only through our superiors, not on the basis of our own ability. So we pray to our gurus, to other acharyas, to Srila Prabhupada, to Lord Chaitanya, and then also we pray to the Lord Himself to be merciful so that we can acknowledge as well as realize this knowledge, because this is transcendental and very much beyond the material realm. So with that being said, yes, today's purport is very short and very specific, which just talks about how the Apsara, anybody remember the name of the Apsara?
Piyusha.
Pramlochana. So Pramlochana, yes, Piyusha was there in the verse, but Piyusha is nectar. But the Apsara that is being referred to in this verse is Pramlochana. So in yesterday's verse, Divyamani Prabhu spoke about or introduced Pramlochana, who was this heavenly damsel. She was this heavenly descendant who was married to or who associated with the sage named Kandu. And their daughter is now here described as a child who was left behind with the trees. So this child, we will see in the following verses, the name of the child will be revealed. The name of the child is Marisha. So that comes much later in the chapter, but you can already know that the name of the child is Marisha. And Marisha, this daughter, she was the daughter of Pramlochana and Sage Kandu. And I thought a few aspects we could discuss here. One is the protection of children and women. I think that's also something very relevant here. Then we can also discuss about, secondly, the influence of the moon in our lives or on our planet. And then also an interesting fact of the goal of bhakti. So these are three, I hope, points that we can together explore. So the first point, which I found very striking, is that this daughter, Marisha, was left by the mother, Pramlochana, because Pramlochana, after giving birth to this child, returned back to the heavenly planets. And as we know, a newborn child especially needs the care of the mother. But what did Pramlochana do? She left just not by the water or the river, she left the child in the care of the trees. So this also highlights actually the importance of the protection of children and women. So Srila Prabhupada in many lectures has emphasized that certain categories of individuals should be protected. Does anyone remember who all should be protected? Women and children, yes. The elderly, yes. Cows, yes.
Brahmanas.
Yes, Johanna, super. Brahmanas. So we give protection to these category of individuals, and therefore time and again in our shastras we see that this point of protection of the dependent, or the protection of, because if you attack a Brahmana by the very nature of a Brahmana will not fight back, and therefore such an individual needs protection. Women by nature will not fight back, therefore they need protection. So you see that the Vedic principles at the same time are very logical. And similarly, going by this logic, when Pramlochana left the child, the daughter Marisha, with the care of the trees, and of course Marisha also, although a child of a heavenly damsel, she was still in a, you could say, so-called human body, and therefore she could not be nourished by the trees. And therefore, we see here that Chandradev had to interfere. And what did Chandradev do? Out of compassion, Chandradev then placed his finger which poured nectar within the child's mouth. And this story, does anyone remember what is the connection between nectar and Chandradev? Mahakrishna Prabhu?
Bhagavad Gita says that the moon can detest on the vegetables.
Yes.
And Somarasa also.
Mm-hmm. What about Somarasa?
Soma means moon.
Yes. And also when, so there are actually, we don't know much about the moon, but then if you see, the Lord took birth in Chandravangsha, the dynasty of the moon. So
The moon is responsible for which?
Yes.
The taste.
The taste.
Not a man vegetation.
Vegetation.
And then the nectar comes from the plant.
Yes. So the nectar actually comes from moon. So the taste that we have in vegetables and fruits actually comes from moon. So the moon is a very important personality. And then again, we also realize that Chandra is actually a person. He is a king of the moon. And that this is a speciality also of our Vedic literature, that it's not just a planet like they say. There is also a person who is ruling the planet, Chandradev. And also during the churning of the milk ocean, if I'm not wrong, when the nectar was there were two demons, Rahu and Ketu, I think, who were sitting they disguised themselves and they were sitting along with the demigods to steal some nectar and become eternal.
It was one demon.
One demon. Oh right, yes. That's right.
Yeah.
One demon was there. Rahu Ketu, one demon was there. And then somebody complained that, oh, there is a demon between us. Do you remember who? From what I remember, it's Chandradev. Like the king of the moon, Chandradev, he complained, oh, look, there's a demon between us, actually. And then this demon was so smart, he already drank. But then that's why they cut him in half. So half is Rahu and half is Ketu. But that aside, we just see that Chandradev is a very prominent figure in all of our literature. So it would be nice to also, in your free time, explore a little bit more about Chandradev. And what I found even more interesting is this child actually was raised by the mercy of the king of the moon. So generally the moon nourishes the trees and plants through the moon rays. But of course, simply by giving moon rays to Marisha, she could not have been nourished. and therefore he puts the finger in her mouth to give her nectar. So that's very interesting. And now what we are doing right now is discussing about the prachetas, right? So does anyone remember why are we discussing about prachetas? Because I remember that the chapter started this canto some chapters ago. We were talking about Prachina Parishad. So Prachina Parishad has his sons, the prachetas, and the prachetas, they have they went into tapasya, and they were instructed by Lord Shiva, and this is also the Rudra Gita. So the song sung by, the song of Lord Shiva, and the prachetas, they were singing Rudra Gita, or they were chanting and prayers and hymns and doing tapasya for the benediction of the Lord. And then we see that the Lord appears, and because of their friendly relationship amidst each other, the Lord is very merciful to the prachetas. But how do we get to this story? Actually, yesterday Divyamari Prabhu also pointed out that this is a conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. So Vidura asks Maitreya Rishi that, okay, the prachetas, they did meet the Lord. They do get to meet the Lord. That is wonderful. They have such a big spiritual, advanced spiritual significant event in their life. But you know what is the most interesting part I find? Then my Vidura asks, okay, that is fine, but materialistically, what did they benefit? And I was like, poof. You know, he says, okay, they met the Lord, but what was the material side? What benefit did they get? And for me, this was very interesting, because generally we sometimes just talk about, just be Krishna conscious and focus on Krishna consciousness. But here, Vidura is asking, what is the material benefit that these prachetas received by doing bhakti? So that's very interesting. And I thought perhaps this is also something we could discuss, the material benefits that we receive from the practice of bhakti. So the bhakti, actually sometimes they say, in India a lot of people don't want to worship Hari. Why? Anybody knows? Yes, because the word Hari means to take. So the Hari takes away everything, so that's why nobody wants to worship Hari. However, with the practice of bhakti, actually, a lot of things are also bestowed upon the practitioner. So it's not all sad, the practice of bhakti. So would you like to maybe guess what are the different benedictions that are bestowed by practice of bhakti? Yes, Gyanaprabhu.
There is this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha Bhajantevam, 4 types of pious people approach Krishna. So generally we begin because we want to get rid of suffering. And then we are elevated to the position where we learn to enjoy, so healthy, peaceful life. That's what.
So he was saying how chapter 7, text 16 of the Bhagavad Gita states what kind of people come to the path of bhakti, yes. But what are the benefits? Like you said, you get a healthy, peaceful life.
You get rid of suffering and you learn how to enjoy in the bhakti.
Okay, you enjoy, you get rid of suffering, you have a very fabulous life. Okay, that's one side effect of bhakti. What else can you benefit from the practice of bhakti? So that comes under the category of labh, which means benefit or profit. Any other guesses? What else we can get from the practice of bhakti? Material benefits.
Krishna will give us whatever we need.
Krishna fulfills all desires. Yes. Any other?
For those who Krishna love, they gain some special love.
Yes, special love, tough love of Krishna. Vallabhasena Prabhu is saying that Krishna takes away everything. Yes, that's also true.
Well, you can go to the heavenly planets, and then after that you might be interested in liberation. So artha, artha, jigyasu, jnana. So then you might become liberated.
So artha, moksha, so these are bestowed, that you get wealth, you get heavenly planets, and you also might get liberation. So basically another side effect of, so we have labh, which is getting benefits, then pratishtha. prestige, you become famous, and you get a lot of respect. So that Labh Pratishta, and Bhakti Prabhu, you remember there are two more, Labh Pratishta and Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about it. So basically these are Chaitanya Charitamrita also refers to different benefits of bhakti. One is Labh, which means these kind of properties.
Against karmic reactions.
Yes, you get relief from the karmic reactions. So your different sinful reactions is cut off. So you don't have to suffer anymore. So anyhow, there are many ways of actually stating what are the materialistic benefits of practicing bhakti. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur actually talks about the different stages, Adao, Shraddha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. So like that, we have different stages. And why am I actually quoting Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur here? Is because Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that a person can practice bhakti in two levels. One is Anishtita Bhakti and Bhakti with Nishtha. So Anishtita Bhakti is unsteady devotional service, and Nishtita Bhakti is steady devotional service. Now, for us to introspect, it is very important, because I was listening to a lecture by His Holiness Swayam Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj. The lecture is entitled Destroyed by Distraction. Very powerful lecture, and I recommend everybody to also give it a listen. He talks about the different fruits of the practice of bhakti. These are the things you get, gifts, if you practice bhakti. And you might get swallowed up by it, but as devotees, we have to be so introspective and so careful not to get consumed by the side benefits of bhakti and lose track. And when do we really get sidetracked, or we get these distraction, destroy our bhakti on the stage of Anishtita Bhakti, which is unsteady. And Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur describes unsteady devotional service in 6 stages. And I thought that's also very nice for us to go through, because at least when I reflect on it, I can see that this is very much relevant to my life. So the first stage of unsteady devotional service is Utsaha Mahi. So anyone can maybe guess what Utsaha Mahi means? The first one of the stages. Yes.
For 1 month, I wake up every day 2 o'clock. I sleep only 4 hours and I don't eat anything, and I go every day on book distribution, and I'm super fired up. This is I might not be able to do that for a long time, but I'm going to break into the spiritual world.
So Utsaha Mahi, as the word Utsaha, which means enthusiasm. So in the beginning of spiritual life, I can at least speak for myself, there's so much enthusiasm, which is not a bad thing. But this enthusiasm is very much based on false confidence. And therefore, it is a symptom of unsteady devotional service. The second stage that Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur describes is Ghana Tarala, which means, what do you think Ghana Tarala means? Ghana means deep, and Tarala means waves. So basically your waves of bhakti are very deep, sometimes very high, sometimes very low. So that's really how you do devotional service. Sometimes you can do 8 hours of service, and sometimes you can't even do 2 hours of service. So that's again another sign of unsteady devotional service. It's nice, because you can really see so much of yourself in these descriptions. The third stage of unsteady devotional service is Vyuddha Vikalpa, which means that Vyuddha Vikalpa is again unsteadiness or indecision. For example, you decide to do a vrata. So many of us during Kartik, we fast from sweets. We say, yeah, I want to do this vrata. The next day, no, maybe I don't need it. And the next day, no, but I want to be sincere and austerity is nice. And the next day you think, actually just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So and another very common and famous one is, yeah, maybe I should enter Grihastha life. No, it's too much Maya, I don't want to enter Grihastha life. The next day you think, no, but I have these desires, I should change ashram. Then the next day you think, No, but then once I change ashram and I'm so much overtaken by family responsibilities, I can't do service. So this is again, Vyuddha Vikalpa, one time this, one time the other. So it's indecision. One time you want to accept, one time you want to renounce. And then the fourth stage, the Bhakti Vinod Thakur talks is Vishaya Shangara. And any guesses what Vishaya Shangara means?
These days that we enjoy the small waves of devotional service. We remain in one.
No. Vishaya Shangara means to struggle with the senses.
It comes later.
So Vishaya Shangara is basically we have difficulty in giving up some weaknesses that we have. Why? Because of our attachment to our sense gratifications. So that's the fourth, Vishaya Shangara. And the fifth is Niyama Kshama. Niyama Kshama. So Niyama means vows and Kshama means capacity. So Niyama Kshama means our incapacity to uphold vows. That sometimes devotees have these difficulties that they are not able to uphold the promises they made to the spiritual master. They are not able to uphold the four regulative principles. It's unfortunate, but also if you look at our acharyas, they were very logical. And they said, they were very straight about this fact that in unsteady devotional service, this does happen. So it's also like after you cross these stages of, you're struggling with your senses, etc., the next step that comes is you're not able to uphold your vows. And then the last one is Taranga Rangini, which is what you were saying, that you are so enamored by the different gifts that are there in the path of bhakti. This is like Jai Shri Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Maharaj. Jai Shri Shri Kolikai Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the last one is Taranga Rangini. So Taranga means waves and Rangini means to enjoy. So when you begin to enjoy the waves of devotion, and what is this waves of devotion? That sometimes you have the feel-good days. That, oh, today I'm feeling good and I'm doing a lot of service. Yeah, I'm very steady in the path of bhakti. Next day, you kind of loop. Or for example, there are different benefits that come from the path of bhakti. For example, when you run a devotional service, everybody is praising you that, oh, she or he is such a nice devotee, and you also begin to think, oh yeah, not bad actually, this is part of bhakti, it's pretty okay, I get a lot of recognition, a lot of people bring me gifts, so yeah, it's okay. So you tend to enjoy the practice of bhakti. So that's the last one, Taranga Rangini. And that's also one of the most dangerous one, that then you begin to enjoy the side benefits of bhakti. And these are, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, referred to as the weeds to the creeper of bhakti. So in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 19 to 22, talks about the creeper of bhakti and how this creeper of bhakti eventually ends up in the lotus feet of Krishna and bears its fruits there. But what happens is this creeper of bhakti, and I think anybody who has ever planted anything, you know that there are weeds that grow. And the weeds to the creeper of bhakti is la, pratishtha and these kind of things. And therefore devotees are very, very introspective and very much adamant not to get distracted by the creeper of bhakti. And here it's very interesting that Maitreya Rishi is being asked by Vidura, what are the material benefits? So Vidura is asking Maitreya Rishi in this chapter, a few verses ago, what are the material benefits that one can receive? It's okay, they met the Lord, that's fine, I understood, but what are the material benefits? And then Maitreya Rishi, of course, relates the story of the Prachetas and tells them everything. And then eventually, you know how this chapter goes, I can give you a brief, which is quite interesting, that the Prachetas get married to Marisha, and because it was an order from Brahma, also a superior, and so like this the story goes on, that they get married and everything. But then again, we see the Lord is still very merciful to the Prachetas because they keep rendering devotional service. And the Prachetas actually offer a lot of prayers. As you go deeper into the chapter, the Prachetas, they begin to offer their respectful obeisances to the Lord, and they state how the Lord cannot be perceived by material senses, and they offer their prayers to the Lord again and again. And you can see that, at least when I was reading through, you can see this transition actually, that the Prachetas know that they are going to enter the household life, and you can see that they are really craving for the Lord's mercy. They are really craving that the Lord does not bereft them from devotional service. And they say that the very fact, the Prachetas acknowledge that devotional service is actually the very fact of life, and they pray that the Lord may please be satisfied with them, and they call the Lord their ultimate goal of life. So they say how their life is actually meant for the full satisfaction of the Lord. So it's quite beautiful. If you really flip through the chapter, you see that the Lord is very, very, very merciful to the Prachetas. And although Vidura wanted to know the material benefits of the practice of bhakti, we see that the Prachetas actually take to devotional service. There were material benefits that they had. They had now the beautiful wife, they were going to change ashram and all these things. But time and again, the Prachetas kept coming back to the glorification of the Lord. And this is for us a very important example to remember, that in our lives also the practice of bhakti will give many benefits. I mean, even the fact that we are able to live in this villa and have the benefits of living in the most expensive place in the whole of Zurich. These side benefits of the practice of bhakti will come. But we have to introspect that, am I really giving my all to the practice of bhakti? Whatever I am doing in devotional service, is it really for the transcendental pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Whatever move I make in the temple or even in my personal life, which I call as a practice of bhakti or related to the practice of bhakti, am I doing it simply for the pleasure of Shri Shri Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Maharani and Shri Shri Gaur-Nitai? So actually this chapter relating to the Prachetas is a chapter of deep prayer and deep introspection for us as devotees, so that we do not get so destroyed or distracted by the different side benefits that come from the path of bhakti, so that we stay steady that whatever we do in life, because sometimes even when we live outside the temple, but we still give our time to the temple or we give our time in devotional service, Krishna will be kind. Krishna will give all the benefits, because Pratigyatava Govinda Name Bhakta Pranashati. So Krishna promises, my devotee will never perish. I will protect my devotees. So that advantage we have already as devotees. But it is our utmost responsibility that we introspect and we make sure that we don't get sworn away, we don't swim away in the distraction. We really stay very fixed in the path of bhakti and be very honest, really give our 100% and not be lazy and not be duplicitous and not take advantage of the practice of bhakti, because taking advantage or misadvantage of the practice of bhakti is like taking misadvantage of the Lord Himself. And Krishna is very kind, He will give it to you, but at the same time you can't get very far, because at the end of the day, whatever we do in the practice of bhakti is actually to invoke love in our heart, to make our heart soft and reawaken the love for the Lordship. And we see what happens is when you get distracted by the practice of bhakti, or you become disrespectful towards Vaishnavas. And towards the end of the chapter, you will see the example of Daksha comes. And why is this example of Daksha so relevant? Because we are speaking about Rudra Gita, the spiritual master of the Prachetas is, you could say, Lord Shiva. And who did Daksha offend?
Shiva.
So you see that the cycle is so round, like they say, what goes around comes back around. So Daksha had to take birth from, you could say, quote unquote, the disciples of Lord Shiva, Prachetas, for purification. And why Daksha became proud? Daksha was a devotee, he was also a very nice king, but he got so distracted by the benefits that he was receiving from the Lord that he became offensive to the devotee of the Lord. And he offended Lord Shiva. That's why it is said that although he was powerful, he was cursed. And we know the whole story of Daksha. And he had to take birth, he had to die twice. Imagine, just because he offended a significant Vaishnava, he had to die twice to be able to overcome the reaction of his disrespect. So we see how, just to sum it up, that this chapter is a very significant chapter, and a chapter where we can really reflect a lot in our spiritual life. And we see we are now at this juncture where the story of Daksha is about to begin. So the marriage between Prachetas and Marisha is about to happen, and we discussed about how the waves of devotional service, we should be very introspective about it and not ride on the waves of devotional service, and do whatever we do in our lives for the transcendental pleasure of the Lord, so that we don't end up like Daksha. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, these examples are very logical and it's not that Vyasadeva just wrote it for the sake of writing. They come very reasonably, that one thing comes after the other because we have to learn something very nuanced. So Srimad Bhagavatam, that way, is such an incredible literature, and as devotees actually, we have to learn to read between it, in the sense that, okay, we can either read it very straightforwardly, one thing after the other, or when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we can introspect. Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj calls it intertextuality, that you compare it with other things that you have read. You bring in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, so you really study Srimad Bhagavatam. And that is what Srila Prabhupada expected out of us, that we study Srimad Bhagavatam. And by his mercy, we have the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam. So let us use Srimad Bhagavatam for our introspection, so that we are not, like Kishore Maharaj says, destroyed by our distraction. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Oh, sorry. Any questions or comments? Sorry, any questions? See, my ending was also a little bit destroyed by distraction. But if there are any questions or comments, if anyone would like to share something. Yes.
You mentioned these different stages of, what is it called,
unsteady devotional service. It's actually given in the Madhurya Kadambani by Vishwanath Chakravarti.
Was it so that they are stages of anartha nivriti?
Yes, you could say it like that. So
Different stages.
Yes, actually these are not stages, because in the stages of anartha nivriti, purification happens. But the stages that I described, they are symptoms of unsteady devotional service. So they are kind of symptomizing what is unsteady devotional service, whereas in anartha nivriti you get rid of these.
But because after anartha it becomes nishta, so you get rid of this, you become steady. So it could be called nishta, anartha nivriti.
No, but what I described is a symptom of unsteady devotional service. So how can it be part of anartha nivriti?
Because after anartha nivriti, one is unsteady devotional service, nishta.
Yes, but how can something unsteady be part of anartha nivriti? The word anartha nivriti, anartha means unwanted and nivriti means to eradicate. So if something unsteady, you can introspect and realize what you have to eradicate. But this is not anartha nivriti, this is symptom of anishtita bhakti. Because anartha nivriti means you get rid of labh, pratishta, kam, krodh, lobh, maya, these things. But what I described is a symptom of unsteady devotional service. So of course, during anartha nivriti you can get rid of this, but you can't really call it as part of anartha nivriti. Is that clear?
Well, what I would say that is after nishta one is steady, so at least it cannot be after nishta, these things anymore.
You mean that this is still in the these symptoms that are described, they're still in the state of bhajana kriya. So when you start to practice devotional service, you can either be, because the thing is, nishtha is not, because sometimes we think that I think Krishna Prema Rupa Prabhu very nicely explains this when he describes Madhurya Kadambini, the different stages. We sometimes think that the different stages, they are like one after the other, but they are happening simultaneously. For example, it's not that after Sadhu Sangha I will get Bhajana Kriya. They can happen together. It's not like after Sadhu Sangha, after many stages I will get Anartha Nivritti. Maybe as soon as you start Sadhu Sangha, you can start with Anartha Nivritti also. So these unsteadiness, we are able to acknowledge it when we start the practice of bhakti, so Bhajana Kriya. So these symptoms, they are not essentially part of Anartha Nivritti, but when you start the practice of devotion, you can always reflect whether it's steady or unsteady. And how do you reflect? By really seeing these unsteady symptoms. And if I see these unsteady symptoms in myself, I know that my bhakti is still unsteady. So I know what to work on. But I wouldn't go so far as to call it as being part of Anartha Nivritti. Because Anartha Nivritti essentially means purification, Whereas what I described is symptom, which have to be purified, but they're not essentially part of it. It's a very nuanced thing. I don't know if it clarifies. But these symptoms of unsteadiness are actually after Bhajana Kriya, they really start. And you will see, actually Kadambakara Maharaj also writes notes on Madhurya Kadambini, and he also writes a little bit on this topic. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur also in his, he has also written extensively on these stages of Anushtita Bhakti, which actually come from the Madhurya Kadambini, actually. Yeah. Any other question or comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We should tell you. That's it. That's true. Yes. Thank you. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Jai Bhakta Chandra
I think maybe Maitreya asked these questions about material benediction. For materialistic people.
Yes, good.
Usually it's given because it's so elevated souls, they not interested of this topic. They just want to inspire some ordinary people to follow bhakti.
Yes, and I also feel that if he asked it is for us to realize actually, also to be aware. Because towards the end of the chapter you see that although he asked the question, I felt like the question doesn't get answered. Because he's just like Maitreya Rishi begins to talk about the prayers to the Lord, and everything is so spiritually elevating. It's not, and then you really get to the point that these individuals had nothing to do with material benefits. And for us, it's important to know that okay, we have to be careful also that material benefits are there, but we have to still stick to pure devotional service. It's actually very interesting.
Yeah, because if you have faith in material benediction, if you practice with this faith, because Krishna is not, how to say, he is not satisfied. Sometimes he is not satisfied our desire, and if you have faith in this, and you will be broken. I practice Krishna consciousness because I know some devotees say, I practice a lot of time, but Krishna not satisfy my desire, and they are left.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's the danger we have to be careful of.
And another point, I think, the protection of
You should
children.
say these things on the mic.
And another point, I think, the protection of children and its education, good education, because mostly people think protection of children is just give food, clothes, and something, and for women also. But why devotees give children for this slaughterhouse, for school, for another educational? So it's
true. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. And very nice lecture, but is it possible little slowly?
Sorry,
Because for me it's very difficult. I maybe understand 50.
I thought you were the middle to ask
50%
was very fast. Yes.
50% I understand.
Sorry.
And because I don't have my vocabulary is limited,
Yes.
and I search different words. But you talk so fast that I'm not.
Sorry.
not
No,
really.
because the thing is, the thoughts keep coming, and it's like one thing after the other. That's right. But I will. Yes, I should be more careful. I'm so sorry. It's a disease I have. It's like it comes and has
You know
come.
too much therefore.
No, it's there.
If
It
you
comes
speak
out.
slow, you can give us only half of your.
Oh, I even thought like, should I stop and ask? Am I too fast? But then I forgot.
I also thought it is very fast. Well, I could follow, but
But you should just tell me next time.
you know, my English is good enough to understand it.
Yeah.
But there's so many information in so short time. This is another problem, you know.
How can you not say things?
And you can think about what is saying.
Yeah.
Radhika Devi, they have no clue who the people.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know what is whose structure and
Yeah.
what, you know.
Yeah.
You spoke for very advanced person.
No.
Yeah, sure. It's you know, this is like Sunday feast, you know. You have all kind of.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's nice. I got some new insight.
Because I was thinking, you know, like Chandra put the finger inside the mouth of the girl and fed. What am I supposed to say to it?
Yeah, of course.
I was like, this is not the best words to speak about.
Yeah. No, for you, it's no problem.
No, but then I thought, and then I was thinking actually you can then speak about, then I read before and after.
Yeah.
And it's
That's always good because not everybody that I know, I think you the last few classes, I didn't hear them. Then you give them context and it's good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also like it's so interesting that Daksha actually ended up here. For me it was like, because then everything made sense. Why Maitreya asked, Vidur asked this question and why this happened, everything made sense. And Srimad Bhagavatam is so incredible.
Yes, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, therefore, they always say you can never stop to read it, you know. You will all get more and more over your more insight, more.
And there's so much space, like if you read it and you know what happened before and you're like, whoa. It's just so nice. Yeah.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Are you going home today? You want to go together?
Home?
I'm going home today because I can't be on
That's a home to the station, you mean?
Yes. Yes, I need to stay.
I don't know when I go. It depends on the state of student. You go when you go?
I'm done. I can go in the evening, I can go before. I always have something to do in the night.
Yeah, that's true, but something I have to do, something I could do.
Okay, can you drop me a text if you know what time you want to leave? Then we can go to the station together.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You know, today I woke up at 1:40.
Oh.
Then I went back to sleep. I forced myself back to sleep. I was like, Devasri, you can't wake up. I thought,
No.
let's wake up and chant. And then I thought, no.
No.
But it was very nice because when I woke up, I felt so rested. You know, I was like, oh, I'm done.
But the class was already prepared. Right? How can you do this?
Because the thing is, I didn't get time yet.
Don't tell this to anybody.
No, of course not. But I knew this thing about the different stages because I
Yeah.
learned it from my Guru Maharaj. And now I just looked it up and then I remembered. So it was okay. But that's the thing in Krishna consciousness, if you constantly keep hearing, you don't have to prepare.
Yes.
No, everybody. You just have to think this and then it's done. Today I did Shila Puja after very long. I mean, all the time to Shila.
Yes. It's a flower.
Yeah, something. You know, but these, I think recently after Jagannath's festival, they reset Padmanabha's eyes. Now he looks like a sober boy. First he used to look so flirtatious and so charming. Now he looks like a very sober and well behaved. Doesn't flirt with anybody.
Yeah, but before the eyes was higher.
And a little further away like this.
Yeah, and then he painted always down, and then he put it like that. He was only looking at the ceiling because he wanted to show also his paintings, you know.
But now he doesn't look like a flirt, he looks like a well-behaved boy. That's not Padmanabha.
Yeah, yes, different.
He always flirts with all women. No, you shouldn't say this. But you know, that's how he is. And now he looks like so nice boy.
Anyway, you have your own Padmanabha now.
No, my Padmanabha is always Padmanabha. He's why I also have them. He will always be my first love. I'm never going to give him up. My one and only. You will not take breakfast?
I will, of course.
Okay, I will also take after some time.
I never.
Nice. I also don't like to skip. But then I have my puja. Today I finished all the puja together so I can take breakfast. I think you should have a look at the cheeks.
What is it?
Last thing you will do that. So I don't know if somebody has it time.
Читаю текст 28, прочитанный его божественной милостью Аче Бхактивиданты Свами Прабхупады 5 января 1975 года в Бомбее. Ум живого существа известен под именем Господа Анирудхи, Верховного Повелителя чувств. Его сине-черное тело напоминает цветы лотоса, распустившиеся осень. Идущие путем йоги постепенно открывают его для себя. Это мантра, ведическая мантра. Все полубоги поклоняются Верховному Господу. Варуна, Индра и другие полубоги. Даже Господь Шива или Господь Брахма. Ему поклоняются Шива и Виринчи, то есть Господь Брахма. Единственный Господин, Господь, это Кришна. Я объяснял. Ишвара, Верховный Ишвара, властелин, это Кришна. И ему поклоняются. Он объект поклонения. Йоги желают мистических сил. 8 видов мистических сил. Они также медитируют на Верховного Господа. И аспект Верховного Господа, на который медитируют йоги, сосредотачивая свой ум, называется Анирудха. Васудева Санкаршана.